So this is TF Cast. I'm your host Jacob. This is Willis. We're here today with Robert, also known as Intelligent Design or ID, and we're here to talk about some hip hop and what's coming up. Mankato.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's jump right into it. So, how long have you been performing as a hip hop artist?
Say I'm going on about 45 years.
45. Okay.
It's been a while. Ever since I moved to Mankato, basically.
Yeah.
So
How old were you when you started thinking about doing shows or kind of?
started thinking about doing shows. I would have been probably 18, something like that, around that time when I started thinking about actually rapping. But even as when I was younger, listening to hip hop music, I would write little things or kind of practice or kind of learn how to do it. But taking it more seriously once I moved to Mankato, then getting into watching battles and stuff down at Professor's, which was basically, it's part of Rounders now, but there used to be a head shop there that was...
Would that have been the 418 room?
Yeah, the 418 room.
So it's outside.
It was a head shop back then, and they would have freestyle battles, so when I moved to Mankato, they were going on. I would go check them out. They were Wednesday nights or something, but it was weekly or bi-weekly, so it was pretty frequent, and so that's kind of how I started getting into taking it a little bit more serious, watching other people, being inspired by that, and then moving forward with my own stuff and writing, recording, starting in groups basically, and then kind of branching off and doing my own thing.
Going back to those days, what was the process for coming up with new stuff? How would you come across a beat or whatever? Now it's really hyper accessible to just get a beat rolling on your computer, whether it's
YouTube or something.
Yeah. So back in those days, people I knew were making beats. I maybe make beats, but I was really not very good at it. So when you start off with something, it's usually, it takes a little bit to learn. So wasn't really practicing writing on my beats. I was more writing to things that would be available to, on YouTube or wherever it was. And just kind of writing to different beats that other people made that I met through the internet back then too. In, would have been, I don't know what year it would have been, but back when I started rapping, it was MySpace. And so it was interesting. Everybody, it was social media more geared toward music, and everybody had their own music. So you kind of meet people through there, and we were getting beats from people from Maryland and a couple other places, just out on the East Coast. And so that's kind of how I started with beats that weren't just commercial ones that you would practice writing to or maybe write a song to, and just kind of getting your start. But getting them from Shoba, I've known for a really long time, got beats from him really early on too. So once you start getting beats that aren't used by somebody else already, or once you're not just ripping off beats to write to, and you actually take it a little bit more serious when you're thinking this is going to be something that I'm going to put out there, and take a little bit more seriously, putting it on an album, or just trying to make sure that you get it to the point to where you want to represent it, or you want to present it to people, I guess.
That makes sense, because before you just find beats that are instrumental versions of hip-hop songs you probably,
right.
And that's a fun way to play with the idea of writing songs. And
Right, yeah. That's how I'm sure most people probably start that way. There's probably rare circumstances where people are making their own, or when hip-hop originally started, that wasn't available. People were making their beats and kind of creating. But for the most part these days, that's how most kids are going to get their start. They'll hear a song they like, or a beat that they like, not necessarily a song, but a beat that they like, and write to it, and then kind of, if you write it down, you practice it, you rap it for somebody else, and they say, oh, I like that, and then that kind of inspires you to be okay, well, I'll write to the next one, and then the next one. So each song usually is a little bit of progress, or progresses a little bit, and then eventually you get to the point to where you just got a lot of stuff to put out there.
You mentioned that those kind of those rap battles or the stuff that was going on with professors was already going on twice a week. Just in terms of like size and organization, Mankato's hip hop scene, like coming from that period of time to where we are today, like what would you say? Like,
Well, they weren't going on twice a week, bi-weekly as in like every other week, or maybe weekly they were happening. But there was, at that point, there was not really a whole lot of hip-hop shows. Like Fresh was doing shows, they were doing shows, not as much as there is now. Like now it seems like it's kind of more monthly, and then when I first started, it was not really too many places that were having hip-hop shows. Professors, you would see people rapping in there. What's Up Lounge has been there forever. People have had shows there too, but I wasn't 21 at that time. So other places like used to be Stardock Studios downtown, and then What's Up Lounge would have all ages shows sometimes too. But when you're that young and you're trying to get into it, the shows that I was going to back then, just from my experience, were mostly like places that were all ages, like the professors and stuff like that.
What was the Starduck Studios? Is that downtown?
Yeah, it's like True Facade or something now.
Oh,
no, it's not. It's Burrito Wings now. As of like last week, there's a Burrito Wings in there.
Yeah, so they had things down there. Sometimes it would be all ages shows. And then the venues back there were even different. For even when I turned 21, there was places like the Inferno, which is kind of by where Nicollet Bike Shop would be now. That was a place
old town spot.
Yeah, they did have some hip hop shows. I know before I moved to Mankato, people were throwing their own shows. There was Bam Dig and Born Ballers. They were some of the guys that were already doing it by the time that I moved up here, that were throwing shows at like the Moore Scenario, like the VFW. It was really what people are calling DIY now, but it was everybody, contributing to put in on a show. There wasn't an official spot for it like there is currently. So as of right now, I think that the places that are having hip hop shows like Red Rocks and the What's Up Lounge, and those places are kind of really geared toward what we're doing and see what we've been doing and are accommodating that, versus in those days it was kind of still, people were still kind of learning what was happening or what kind of presence hip hop would be in Mankato. It was more, everything was just kind of starting. Like I said, it started before I got here, so there was definitely people doing it that I don't know about that were already helping create what it is now. But I feel like now it's kind of become a hub or a place that people do want to stop if they're going through the area, going through the state. Mankato is kind of known for having, a good scene of people, just with the college and having the younger base of people available to come out to those type of things.
Organized too. That's one thing I've always noted about the hip hop community here, is it just seems that, like, not that you guys are just organized, but that they come out and support one another in a way that, I mean, I see it at shows, but like it's like groups oftentimes coming out, and that's really cool. I want to segue from what you said about Red Rocks to the show that's coming up this week at Red Rocks on Friday.
Yep.
If you want to say anything about that, or anyone who's involved in it.
Yeah. So we book a monthly showcase at Red Rocks, and so there's kind of a rotation of people from the area that get onto the show, as well as artists from out of town that we try to bring in if they're on tour, or if they're just wanting to come to Mankato to play a show, to get to a new market. I have to pull up the flyer so I can know who's everybody's on it, but I do know that Jake Giller will be playing, and so he'll be headlining, so that'll be a good time for his set.
Shout out to episode 2.
Yeah, episode 2, Jake, and I'm trying to find the flyer for it. And we got Eric Mason, who he lived in Mankato previously, and he moved back to Mankato recently. He's a really good musician, so he's really talented dude. He'll be playing keyboard and singing, doing his
Has
thing.
he been to a showcase before?
I think he just came to like check it out, but he wasn't involved in one yet. I know that I went and checked out his set at the Coffee Hag. He played there recently, and so really interesting as far as like it's going to be a nice contrast between the regular hip hop acts and then him coming and bringing his own style. So really talented dude though. He's really good at playing instruments, singing all the stuff that you don't normally see in a hip hop show too often. So. And then we got Mr. Fix, who also a lot of people know as Mexi. He's been doing his thing for a long time in the Mankato area as well. So always puts on a good set. So that'll be good. Dungeon the Baptist, who's making his way down from Minneapolis. Also talented young guy. I think he's only like 21 or something like that, around that age. So young dude that's doing his thing. Treasy, he'll be coming from Rochester. So I met him at a show in Rochester. We played at the Rochester Art Heads. It's called Canvas and Chardonnay. It's right down in the strip there, but that was a pretty fun show, and he did a good job out there. So let him know that I throw shows here, brought him out here, so that way he's kind of getting to a new place too. And then Lost Boy from Mankato, TJ, if you guys know him. Not the TJ that works at Red Rocks.
No, good.
TJ. But yeah, he'll be. He played one of the showcases recently. Him and his friend Double Deuces. So it was Lost Boy and Double Deuces, but this time it's just Lost Boy. So yeah, it'd be a good show. Really good mix of people.
I like the lineups you put together for those often. They're nice and diverse and do have a nice blend of local and out of town acts.
Yeah, try as much
really
as possible to get people involved from out of town. That kind of attributes to that. The more people out of town are coming to Mankato and they're talking about it in their town, that just attributes to people knowing we're here. There's a scene for things that are going on, and not just for hip hop, but for other things. It gets the name out there and people talk about it, and eventually, it becomes something that's known. And I think that's kind of settling in the Midwest area. People are starting to know that there are other towns outside the major cities that are doing their own thing and providing a nice audience for artists.
Are you organizing these just by yourself?
No, it's me and Justin. So Fuzzy, Fuzz Talk Radio. We both put these together, and so I'll organize the acts and then make the flyer. He'll put up the event page, help with promotion, getting everybody to know that it's going on and all that stuff. So we work as a team through Fuzz Talk Radio to put them together.
Oh yeah! Quick shout out to Fuzzy, the one who did it first.
Yep.
So how did you shift from being a performer to an organizer? When did that happen?
That actually happened with my first CD release party. So every show I had played up until that point was a show that somebody had asked me to play. Like, they're organizing a show, come play this, set, whatever. And so that's how I got on any show that I played up until my first CD release party. And so when I had the CD done, I was figuring we had to put together a CD release party for it. So putting that together, I knew that I wanted to have my friends play it. So then it kind of it started as organizing that show. It went well. And so then I realized, that was something that I didn't know how to do before. I just kind of threw myself out there to do it because I had the music to release. So it was time to kind of take a step in that direction to kind of learn it. And I liked it. So at that time I was working a different job. I was like a project manager at at a call center. So kind of just organizing a lot of that type of stuff too. It was a kind of a transition from that, learning how to organize on the job, and then organizing artists. It's very similar because it's still kind of, your time management and all that stuff comes into play, making sure that, you're going to be able to accommodate for everybody's sets, being able to make everybody happy, to make sure that the show continues the way that it needs to go. So that transition all happened with the first CD release, and then after that I just started setting up a show every month or every few months, depending on what we could get. But
Was your CD release party at? Where was that at?
well, that I had was at the What's Up Lounge. The second one was with DJ Shoba as well. That one was at the What's Up Lounge. And then the last CD that I put out, we did that release party at Chops. So that was the very last hip hop show at Chops before they changed to Square Deal and then changed their profile or whatever, switched over to being more country driven. So, and then, yeah, since then I've been working on new stuff, but I haven't put out a new album yet. But that is something that I'm currently working on with Shoba. All the beats are made by DJ Shoba. Most of it's written. I mean, there's maybe a couple tracks that I still got to write to. There's a couple tracks that were supposed to be interludes that I wrote to. So it'll be a nice mix of songs and shorter songs and, him scratching and that type of thing. So it'll be kind of closer to what my second album was versus my first or my last or third album that I put out. So it'll be it's nice to work with somebody on a project like that because then I can focus more on the lyrics, the writing, all that stuff, the rapping, and then with not having to think about what can I add to the beat to make it a little bit, to add a little bit more life to it, that type of stuff. You made all the beats, so that's already done. That makes it super easy. Just got to go and write, so and record it. And I recently bought a microphone and going to try to start doing that at my place again. I used to record at my house when I started. I was working with Fresh, and now I'm just going to be kind of working on that again to relearn the recording process.
Yeah.
That's cool. So those come out to be kind of a collaboration between you and Shoba then as well?
Yeah, especially when he's making all the beats.
Yeah, that's really neat. And you've done previous albums like that with him?
Yeah, it was about, we had a radio show on Fuzz Talk Radio called the Mike and Bob Hip Hop Show. So we would, do interviews with people or play music, talk, do surveys, just random things. And it was kind of like a podcast, but we turned it into an album by... He basically, all the beats he was making around the time that we were doing that, a lot of those were ones that I was writing to. So we put together an album of all produced by him, scratches all by him, and then I did all the songs, and we had a few features on it too. But yeah, it's really nice when working with somebody like that to be able to have that half of it all taken care of.
Yeah, that's really neat.
You want to ask the influences, or?
Yeah, I'm always curious about hip hop artists and kind of where they get who inspires them. Whether you've got any people you really look up to in the scene, either that you know personally or the hip hop legends. Yeah,
I mean, that's basically everybody that is doing it. It's an inspiration to see other people doing it. It started as being, seeing the people that came before me doing it, and thinking, wow, that's awesome that they're doing that. I want to be able to do that. I want to, write my own songs and perform my songs and have people, enjoy it as I'm performing it, and seeing that to now at this point, having performed, having done a lot of that type of stuff, seeing younger kids and it's funny because there's been times where I played all ages shows where there was younger people that came that were just there to kind of check it out, but they seemed like they really got into it and really liked it, and then all of a sudden, not too long later, you see that they're rapping as well, and that they are starting to do their own songs and everything like that. So it's at this point, the inspiration for me is a lot of the younger guys that are coming up and starting to do their own thing and seeing how it's kind of evolving. I know that's point of contention for a lot of people that have been doing hip hop, because it does sound different, the stuff that people are making now versus what's out there. I mean, there's still people that are making stuff that sounds like golden era hip hop, but for the most part now, you're going to hear things that sound like they're from 2020 instead of the 90s. And so a lot of that stuff with the people that started doing it that I saw that I really enjoyed, to the people that are doing it now that are just starting and getting into it, all of it I consider to be an inspiration as far as what makes me want to make music.
That's really neat. Are there any artists in town or in the area that you've had out to the shows that you're like really keeping an eye on because you think they've got the thing? Like, who's the...
Yeah, I mean, there's been artists that have gone on to do really big things, you know. Yeah, I'm trying to think of some. Like recently, we've had Nerdy down, and he's doing big things now. I'm listening to The Current on the radio the other day, and they were talking, and the dude with the British accent, I can't remember his name, the guy that's always on during the day, but he was shouting him out, saying how much he liked him and everything, and I was like, oh, that's really cool. Like, 1L Roland, he's done some big things, and we brought him down here back in like 2014 the first time, and since then he's gone on to do, you know, huge stuff, so he's doing great. We had Bobby Raps, the final show that I threw at the Red Sky Lounge. Bobby Raps played, and he's done some pretty big things. I think he produced one of the songs on the latest Weekend album.
Oh wow!
So
that's cool.
Yeah, and Eric Mason, he's done some big things too. He played the Colbert Show with Lizzo when she played it like 2 or 3 years ago. He was in her band. So, yeah, definitely a mix of people that are doing, you know, really huge things, and, you know, people that are keeping it local, however you want to approach it. I mean, it's cool. I mean, I like it all, but there's definitely been some people that have come through that have gone on to do some really big things after coming through here. You know, yeah, it's just been nice to see.
It's fun to watch. I had a question. Oh, like, actually, we covered all that. I don't have anything else, I don't think.
I've also burned through all of my questions.
Well, I wanted to touch again on the show because you're doing this monthly hip hop showcase, so people can kind of catch that with some regularity, and you're always bringing new artists in, giving them a platform from new to more established artists. You've had a really nice balance of that.
Yeah, I try to keep a mix of people to come in, so, you know, that way people are meeting people too, because there's been a lot of people that I've brought to Mankato, and then had another artist from another city come to Mankato, and they met each other at the show or in Mankato and have gone on to make music together. So it's cool to be sometimes that connection, and especially for it to be something like music, because that stuff lasts forever, especially if you're recording it, you're putting it out there, you know, something that you just met somebody at this show randomly that you played in Mankato, and now you've got music with them that's, you know, something that people will be able to enjoy for a long time to come. Is a pretty cool thing. But as far as like the showcases, those are great. Those are once a month, and then I typically try to get out of town as much as possible to play shows too. So I've got some of that stuff coming up where I'll be playing in Texas, we're playing in San Antonio. I've got a show coming up in Wichita, Kansas. Kirby's Beer Store, heard it's a pretty cool place. San Antonio is Limelight. It's a pretty popular venue, I guess, down there as well. So I haven't been to San Antonio since I was like 10 years old, but I heard it's much bigger now.
It's cool. Just stay away from the Riverwalk.
Yeah, Riverwalk is where we went. Yeah, I remember the Alamo. And then we'll also be playing in Sioux Falls on the 24th of March with Modest Music guys and some acts from Sioux Falls as well. So a bunch of stuff out of town too. And then the 15th, for Black History Month, the Hip Hop Coalition has a hip hop show with vendors and all kinds of stuff to kind of celebrate at MSU Saturday, February 15th. So that also should be a real good time. It's free. It's all ages. It's going to be in the CSU. So it's going to be a pretty interesting.
That's really neat.
Yeah, it should be a real good time.
There's a lot going on.
Yeah.
So what advice would you give to somebody who's just starting to, well, I'd be curious about someone who's just starting to think about like messing around with rap and kind of exploring that as an art, and then also maybe someone who's trying to become a little bit more of an established artist.
For people that are just starting out, if there's any advice I can give anyone, it's just to create as much as possible. Try to, do as much as you can, or, a lot of times people will get discouraged because they'll find, oh, I wrote this and I don't really like it, or I made this beat and I don't really like it, or whatever the case may be, and then they just kind of stop doing it. But you're not going to like every single thing that you make, and the more you make, the more likely you're going to find stuff that you like. So if you can just create as much as possible, try to, challenge yourself with different styles, different techniques of recording, whatever you can do to try to put as much out there, try to create as much art as you possibly can, not just for music, but for any kind of, art or anything at all. If you create as much as possible when you're starting out, you'll get better a lot quicker. And once you get to the point to where you get into a rhythm, or you get kind of get a feel for it, then you're going to be that much easier with being able to create something that you really enjoy.
And so then for someone who's kind of done that and done a bit of the experimenting and maybe advice on how to build those relationships with people that can kind of really help take you to the next level.
Yeah, for people that are out there that have been doing it, and if they're looking for any advice, it's to try to get out and perform your music. As for musicians, that's a big part of it. You kind of get a good feel for what to expect when you're recording or any of that. You just get more comfortable with it. So people that have been doing it a long time, that are really comfortable with it, just not getting to the point to where you're complacent, always trying to find something to get you excited about what you're doing, and to really reach as many people as you possibly can with it, because there's going to be people in you may be the most popular person in the town you live, but nobody in Florida has ever heard of you, or nobody in Alabama has ever heard of you. So just trying to get out there and get that information, or get your art out to the people to see. That would be, I guess, the only advice I have, but I'm probably the one that should be looking for advice in those type of situations.
Just be in public and present yourself. Yeah, makes sense. Anything else?
I'm good.
It was really good having you out to chat, and I appreciate what you're doing with the space here, especially in Mankato.
Yeah,
I think it's really cool. Just kind of, I found out about you through I think it was one of the early hip hop showcases, or one of the hip hop shows that kind of preceded those. But yeah, we met there, and it's been fun.
Yeah.
Watching that project of yours evolve too.
Right, yeah. The shows at Red Rocks have been fun. It's been just over a year now, so it was a year last October, so we're coming up on 2 years. So
Yeah.
definitely, hopefully keep that going for a while and get a mix of people into town.
Yeah, it's awesome. Well, thanks for coming out.
Yeah. Any last shout outs?
Oh yeah, where can people find you?
If you're looking for my music and you search my name, Intelligent Design, with no letter I's, just all exclamation points replacing the I's, you'll be able to find it. So there's no I in Intelligent Design. That makes it easy to remember. But you can go to southsodarecords.com. My music's out there, as well as any of my label mates' music is out there as well. Also, southsodarecords.bandcamp.com. Those are all my albums. You can download them. You can name your price. You can give me $100, or you can have it for free. And then, on all the social media, if you just search the way I spell my name, you'll find all kind of offensive tweets and stuff from me out there. So
Nice.
Oh yeah. Thanks for coming out.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, it's a wrap.
Cut.
That's the cut, probably. Oh wait, fade to black.